What's going on, everybody? What's up, family? It's been a little minute, but we are back again. It is the Neely and the Tolly show right here on the Pregame Show Network. Of course, we're going to talk Colorado football, but we're going to talk about life from the lens of two middle-aged men in America in 2024. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Neely, what's up, brother? How you been, man?
Man, I cannot complain, man. Good to see my brother Tolly checking in from the ATL. I don't know, Tolly. It's been a while since we sat down, but I think I see more gray. I, I think I do.
You see more hair, okay? So
Oh,
more hair is going to equal more gray because it's just a percentage thing, okay?
I
So
got you.
so more hair, yeah, more. And here's the thing, Neely, I was combing it last night, brother. I said, hey, it doesn't feel as soft in the middle as I thought that it did when I had the brush cut. So I'm feeling like him this afternoon. Him that has some hair up there. I didn't need the hymns to get the hair up there. It just kind of came back. Well, Neely, we got a lot to catch up on, man. We got Thanksgiving stories. We got storylines. We got a lot of potential things that we don't know, but we still got to talk about it anyway. Let's start here. The regular season has ended for Colorado at the senior night, senior afternoon last weekend. It was a thumping. Colorado layeth the smacketh down in Boulder to end the regular season. Looking back on this regular season, Neely, did it go the way you thought it was going to go?
It absolutely did. It totally went the way I thought it was going to go. And let me explain that to the good people out there checking in with us. You looked at a team that was inherited by Coach Prime that was a 111 program. He took that program to 4-8. And when you look at the duress that Shedeur Sanders was under that season, the most sacked quarterback in college football, you look at the nuances of having to accept a roster that was not completely yours, even though you did work some magic in the portal, and you were able to get 4-8 with all those things stacked against you. There is no doubt in my mind that with the revamped offensive line, with the revamped defensive line, with the addition of Robert Livingston, Warren Sapp, D. Lewis at D line, moving up Vincent Dancy from analyst to a position coach on the defensive end, Pat Shermer now becoming the offensive coordinator. When you start just throwing all this junk in the junk pot and you put it on that low boil, there is no way we were not going to improve. And did we? We improved by double plus one. To go from 4-8 to 9-3 was certainly something. I literally wrote it down. I called it. I said we'd be 9-3. We ended up being 9-3. The only thing that was surprising to me, I thought our toughest 3 games of the year would be the final 3 games, and that didn't turn out to pass. Those teams, BYU, Kansas, and Oklahoma State, were all predicted preseason top 20, one of them in the top 10. And so when you got that stretch of the schedule, you did end up losing to Kansas. But as you saw with Oklahoma State, it was belt to ass 52-0.
Yes. it was racetrack to behind. I'm thinking about all the things I got beat with. It was clothes hanger to behind, extension cord to behind, bedroom shoe to behind.
I know the racetrack you're talking about. You're not talking about that hard when they click in place. You're talking about that one that was flexible.
The Hot Wheels.
That racetrack used to. That was some nice ass whoopers in the 70s with that racetrack piece.
The orange Hot Wheels racetrack.
It was orange.
Look, that racetrack spent more time on my behind than cars spent on that racetrack. It was actually a whipping device disguised as a racetrack. That's exactly what it was. So if you're out there and you felt the pain, hey, me and Neely are with you in solidarity, and we are still here and better for it. All right. Did Travis Hunter put together a Heisman-winning regular season?
Absolutely. No doubt about it. And if you were in doubt, if you thought that somehow, I'm not sure, maybe some of the bubble could go either way, if you watch that game against Oklahoma State, that first touchdown, that first interception, I don't know how you go other than him for the Heisman Trophy to perform at a high level, and in some degrees the highest level possible on both sides of the ball in the same season. And it's nothing gimmicky where, they're just 4 or 5 snaps on one side of the ball. You're talking about 50 snaps one way, 55 snaps the other way, and having an impact in the game. I think the Oklahoma State game, that final regular season game of the season, absolutely stamped him as the Heisman favorite. But I also think it put his teammate Shedeur Sanders in a position to be invited to New York City as well, because his numbers are just off the charts. But Heisman winner has to be Travis Hunter this year.
And the season has been so long. What game was that, Neely? And I'm about 10% afraid to say the game was last year because it feels so long. But Travis puts his helmet on the football on a potential game-winning touchdown to save the game. That was this season, right?
That was this year versus Baylor.
God, that felt like last year at this point. Those are Heisman moments, but they happened so long ago. Part of this thing is you got to have your best game at the right time, especially when somebody else, kind of has a bad game. But his level of dominance throughout the year, man, I don't even know what you debate, Neely. We have seen Charles Woodson, we've seen Champ Bailey, but we have never seen this.
Never at all, and likely never to see it again, because one, you have to have the athlete, and you see how rare that is. And you also have to have a coaching staff that's willing to even entertain this idea, let alone coach it and scheme it and put it out there on the field for the people to see. So all of that has to take place. And when you talk about that play against Baylor, you're exactly right. It felt like a season ago. But as I sat there on the sideline, and when that play happened, and it was a game-changing play, it sealed the game. I turned to the guy next to me and said, well, there goes the Thorpe Award right there. Clearly the best defensive back in the nation. And you knew what the kind of season he would have after that, or at least an assumption of it. And then it turns out we get further down the road, and he doesn't even make the finals for the Thorpe Award. So that one is out the door. He won't be winning the Thorpe Award, but I don't know how you get nominated for best overall defensive player in the nation, and you can't even get nominated to finalists for the best defensive back in the nation when everybody knows clearly Travis Hunter is the best defensive back in the nation.
I mean, Neely, the thing that doesn't show up in the stats, right, is they won't throw at you. Like, it's not a stat, but it's a thing.
Well, you can reverse engineer it. No disrespect to the three young brothers who made the finalists for the Thorpe Award. Shout out to them. One of them is certainly going to win it. But there were folks out there saying, people on talk shows like you and I have, that, well, Travis didn't get nominated because they had more tackles than he has. Do you really want your defensive back tackling? Because that means someone's catching the ball near him or on him if he's making tackles. The fact that Travis Hunter doesn't have a lot of tackles means ain't nobody catching the ball.
The math is mathing on that. It is pretty clear to see. All right, so we got a lot to get into here, but there's so much that we just don't know, Neely. It's midweek. We're on the precipice of many things happening, but they have not yet happened. Colorado's probably going to go to the Alamo Bowl, right? That seems like the most likely destination, but it is not official. But if things work out the way smart people are saying they're going to work out, could be different, but we could see BYU versus Colorado in the Alamo Bowl in San Antonio, which ironically, that was shaping up to maybe possibly be the Big 12 championship game. Now it could be a bowl game. Still exciting, but the stakes are a little different.
Stakes are different, but you're not going to allow anything to diminish becoming bowl eligible at 6 wins and then adding 3 wins to that. Was the goal the conference championship game? Absolutely. But having a 9-win season, earning the right to go to a bowl game, a prestigious bowl game, something to celebrate and put a nice feather in your cap. I will say this, to just bring everybody up to speed. As you know, Colorado was in the Pac-12 last year, and this is the first season in the Big 12. However, for the next 2 seasons, which is 2024 and 2025, you're still tied in, obligated to the Pac-12 bowl game scenario. So you're still, no matter what you do in the Big 12, no matter what happens for the next 2 seasons, your tie-in bowls are still affiliated with the old Pac-12. So that's the Alamo Bowl, the Las Vegas Bowl, Independence and Shreveport, the Sun Bowl, Tony Tiger Sun Bowl, which I think is in El Paso, in the bowl out in San Diego. with the Alamo Bowl having the first right, the first pick in the draft, if you will, how do they not pick Colorado? I don't know who's on that board or who chairs it, or is the the San Antonio Chamber of Commerce, but you'd be kind of out of your mind to not pick Colorado to come to your city for your bowl game. So I'm with you, Tolly. I'm thinking that it's Alamo Bowl. And when you look across the aisle, more than likely BYU, because you didn't get to play them in the regular season.
Neely, I will say this. Let's, for argument's sake, just go ahead and say it's going to be the Alamo Bowl. Sitting here, I cannot tell you a single Alamo Bowl in the history of forever that I remember watching. Well, oh, yeah, you remember the Alamo Bowl back in 99? Neely, I think this will be the Alamo Bowl. Again, if that is the bowl that everyone will remember. What do you think the bowl experience with a good 3-week run-up to hype it up, to promote it, for it to sink into the postseason consciousness of America, what do you envision this bowl environment being like for Colorado?
I think it's going to be typical, not atypical, but typical, which is all eyes on Colorado. I think that everyone is going to be fascinated with the concept of Deion Sanders taking a team to a bowl game in just the second year, something he did, at Jackson State in the second season, going to the Celebration Bowl, and even the third season going back. So I think people are going to be interested in that because all eyes are always on Deion Sanders and what happens in Colorado football. And then we have to keep in mind that bowl games are much like the Super Bowl on the NFL level. You're there for almost a week prior to the game. So the pomp and circumstance, the shaking hands, kissing babies, the public practices that'll take place in San Antonio if it were to be the Alamo Bowl, I think are going to be next level from an earned media standpoint. And even to some degree, will be taken away from the attention that the CFP tree, the playoff tree, has taken place in its early stages. So it'll be all eyes on Colorado, all eyes on Deion Sanders. Lots of backstories for players. A lot of teams right now will be experiencing players opting out of the bowl game and going on back to their families or to start getting ready for the NFL. But Coach Prime has made it clear, just like he did at Jackson State, my guys are going to play. So this is be the last time that you see Travis Hunter, Shedeur Sanders, Shiloh Sanders, Cameron Silman Craig out there on the football field together. So that bowl game is going to be a big deal.
So to double down on what you just said, this will not be the opt-out bowl for Colorado. The stars will be on the field.
Absolutely. These guys want to play in a bowl game. They want to give Miss Peggy not just to a bowl game for her 100th birthday, but want to win it for her. And the stars will shine, like Shedeur Sanders will play, Travis Hunter will play, Cameron Silman Craig, and the list goes on and on. Those seniors that you saw walking out there for Senior Day at Colorado, they are absolutely going to play in this game because they love their coach, they love each other, and there's nothing like one last ride for sure. And this is it.
And I'm glad you said that, Neely, but to be honest, I never even thought that it would – like, that doesn't seem like that would ever happen under a Deion Sanders watch, that he'd be coaching a game and his players, would be sporadically playing, not playing.
I love the way you phrased that because it guaranteed is just what happens under a Deion Sanders watch. Other coaches are going to be dealing with, who's actually going to be on their roster for the bowl game because you have guys who will be hitting the portal. You have guys who will be going on at the advice of their agent and getting ready for the draft and not wanting to risk injury. But when it comes to a Coach Prime organization, and Tolly, we saw this, at Jackson State with the Celebration Bowl. His players played back-to-back years. Like no one blinked. They're like, I want to be here for the coach. I want to get it done. Even in that second Celebration Bowl, when it was already announced that he was going to Colorado, but he was going to coach that last game, a lot of folks saying, oh, if you're going to leave, go ahead and leave, not understanding that had he not coached, there's about 10 or 15 players that wasn't going to play. So Jack State was not victorious in that Celebration Bowl, but you better believe that last final 4 seconds left on 4th down in the 4th quarter pass from Shedeur to Travis Hunter to go in overtime would not have happened if Coach Sanders doesn't coach in that game.
Yeah, that was one hell of a game. They did not win, but it was exciting for sure. All right, it is the Neely and Tolly show, and we're just going to talk about a lot of things here. And I got some family Thanksgiving stories that are going to tie back in to Colorado. So
all right.
let's divert a little bit. So Neely took a great American road trip to San Antonio for Thanksgiving. That's where my father-in-law lives. So my family of 5, We weren't going to fly. We were just going to make it a road trip. Daddy didn't have all the airline money. Let's just keep it real here. So I rent a minivan, right? Sometimes I got the airline tickets for $5. Sometimes I don't. This time I didn't. So you get a family of 5. You'll see. So I rent the minivan, reserve it a month ahead of time.
Yeah.
I get there. Of course, they do not have the minivan. The man who has the minivan has decided he wants to keep the minivan some extra days. So I'm looking around the lot. There's nothing but sedans. I'm like, lady, I can't cram 5 people in a sedan and go from Atlanta to San Antonio. And we made a pit stop in New Orleans for a couple of days. So we broke it up in half. But she says to me, Neely, I do have this 15-seater over here, a Mercedes Sprinter that you could fit the entire women's volleyball team from any school in the country and still have room left. There was 6 rows of seats. Thought to myself, I said, damn, I guess I don't have a choice. So
no, you really don't.
I didn't have a choice. I didn't want to drive our car. I drove 2,500 miles in a week. So I get this 15-seater, Neely, and take it downtown New Orleans. Parked it in the public parking lots. Scared to death when I get up in the morning, the thing's going to be gone. Took it to San Antonio, stopped overnight in Jackson on the way back. So we had this great, great trip. So while we're there for a week in San Antonio, on that Saturday after Thanksgiving, so you got Black Friday, Saturday, all the girls in the house, which was mostly girls, they're going to the Wicked premiere. So they go do that Saturday morning. Me and my father-in-law never, ever discussed it. But when it was time to decide, are we going to chauffeur the ladies around, take them shopping, take them to the movies, without ever discussing it, we simply said, you all have a good time. We're about to watch Colorado. Like, it was just understood with no discussion. That's what we were going to do. And during that week, Neely, me and Pop watched the Lakers in San Antonio. It was on. We kind of watched it. There was some NFL games on. They were on. We kind of watched it. We sat and watched the entire, 52? Was it 52?
52-0.
52-0, never in doubt game. We watched intently from beginning to end, with conversations about the impact of Deion Sanders and what this means and how it makes us feel. And I just thought to myself, that was pretty amazing, Neely, that we just knew with no discussion that was what was going to happen. It happened, and it was like we were watching this historical thing, but it was just another week with Colorado.
And that's what I mean about the bowl game. I think people are going to be glued into it because of all the delicious backstory that goes along, with Colorado, regardless of what the score may be. I got to circle back to the Sprinter, and I got to go all the way back to the Orange Racetrack. Here is the beauty with the headroom, the clearance in a Sprinter. You can whoop ass in a Sprinter. You can't really whoop ass in a sedan. You might be able to reach back and pop somebody in a sedan, but you can actually stand up in a Sprinter and get some torque going if you need it. I'm not advocating. I'm just saying there's an upside of driving 2,500 miles of kids in a Sprinter. That if you had to throw hands, you got space to throw hands.
Neely, if you're in a Sprinter and you say, don't make me come back there, you actually can come back there. Now, you and I are both, kind of tall. We're both, 6'2"? You might be 6'3". Neely, I could stand up in that thing.
Yeah.
And look up and not touch the seat. Like, it is a pretty amazing vehicle. I wouldn't mind having one, to be honest, if I'm going to drive these kids across town every day. But might as well do it with plenty of room. It was actually a very, very comfortable drive.
Man, glad to hear it. Glad y'all got to and fro safe. Particularly with the overnight stays in New Orleans and Jackson, Mississippi. Glad you wake up and it's still there,
My first time in New Orleans. I'd never been to New Orleans. So we were there a couple
Tolly,
I'd never been.
Tolly.
Never.
You mean to tell me Thanksgiving weekend of this year was your first stop ever in the city of New Orleans?
Yes. Ever. I've never been.
Oh my God, Tolly, New Orleans is just a cultural mecca from food to entertainment. Like Tyler, you got to go back. You got to go back with the sprinter, but without the kids.
Yes. These would be very different trips with just me and my wife. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So it is.
Bayou Classic would have been getting ready or jumping off while you were there.
You know what was interesting? I did not get a sense. I knew the Bayou was going to be there, so we were there like Monday, Tuesday. I didn't get a Bayou is coming vibe. Like I knew it was coming, but.
Well, it starts Thanksgiving night, really, when people start coming into town.
Yeah.
So you would have just missed it if you were there the Monday or Tuesday before, the Monday, Tuesday after. But man, Bayou Classic is another one of those epic cultural events that takes place in New Orleans, right up there with Essence Fest that you just got to go experience one time, whether you like Grambling or Southern or football or not. The city's just lit, and get ready now, just like it does with Essence Fest. The prices go up when we come around.
Yeah. Oh yeah. The black tax is in full effect.
Black tax.
I've been around enough places to know when we show up. Yeah, that gratuity is automatically in there. We are not messing around with y'all. Hey, look, you got a black job, you got to pay black tax. That's how it is. Don't shoot me, Neely. I've never been to Las Vegas. Never.
Well, okay, now Tyler, I'm not going to shoot you on Vegas because, like, you and I are from the Black South and the Black East Coast, and Vegas ain't no way to get there but fly. So coming up, we ain't flying everywhere in our families. You get in the car, and so I'm gonna give you a pass on Vegas, but New Orleans, I don't know if I can give you a pass on New Orleans, man.
Well, you grew up a little closer.
That's like somebody from
the
Dallas, Memphis, or Mississippi saying they've never been to Atlanta.
All right, I'll take it. But I have gone and did stop in Shreveport on the way back and ate lunch at Orlando's by the lake. Very good restaurant if you're ever going through Shreveport. It was really cool. It takes forever to drive through Texas. We did drive through Canton, Texas. So I know that's where the Sanders boys, that's where they're from.
Home of Coach Prime.
Home of Coach Prime.
Them, third weeks at that Canton flea market, one of the largest flea markets in the world, they say.
I drove, literally, like you're driving through, there's nothing. And then there's like, why are all these people crossing the street, and why is there? It looked like the state fair was in town, and it was the flea market. So we kind of drove through that. I did look around. I didn't see too many of us, Neely. I was looking. I don't know. We might have been there, but I didn't see too many of us crossing the street.
Now, Canton, Mississippi, Canton, Ohio, where the Hall of Fame is, inside the museum specifically, you're going to see a lot of us. You go to Canton, Texas. Because Coach Prime will tell you he's lived in 3 Cantons: Canton, Mississippi, Canton, Ohio, and Canton, Texas. You get to Canton, Texas, you're not going to see a lot of it.
This is what it is.
Here's secluded out there.
Just, notice it. Because I was looking for something that said Coach Prime, like home of Coach Prime or something. Yeah. But did not see it. But it was a nice drive, driving across America. Glad that it is over, but it was a lot of fun. All right, let's get back to it here, man. My Falcons are doing terrible. That quarterback's not quarterbacking like they thought he would.
Yeah.
Oh, where's our boy going to go, Neely? Has your meter changed? I think the last time we talked, you were feeling a little Vegas. Were you feeling Vegas the last time we talked?
I'm still feeling Vegas. I'm willing to let me say something. Let me clarify to the folks out there at home. This ain't something I heard Coach Prime say. This ain't nothing I've talked about with Shador. I don't know what team Coach